right, we live.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 39 of the MMAHOLICS. Thank y'all so much for joining us for our UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez breakdown. We really appreciate y'all for taking the time out to join us on this evening or whenever you're watching this. Of course, always love having y'all. We always say y'all could be anywhere else in the world, but y'all are here with us. So really appreciate y'all. Of course, I couldn't do it without my main man, Nikki. How you been, man? How's your week been? You've been training real heavy. I know you got
Yeah.
How's it been? Like, how's the training camp been? I know you have a training partner with a fight coming up and stuff like that. So, how's that been? How's the whole experience been?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Definitely a big change from like the person I was when we started this podcast. I was just a fan of the sport. I didn't even think back then that I would be training and experiencing the same stuff that, the fighters that we talk about are. So it's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got two dudes fighting next week. I've been part of the training camp. We've been training hard. I'm bruised up, I'm scratched up. But it's still fun, It's awesome. Been losing a bunch of weight, getting stronger. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, man. Like that goes for me and you both. I'm in the gym like every single day now at this point, like at least like 4 to 5 days a week. Like I had always went to the gym, of course, like definitely since like high school because that's weight training and stuff like that. But ever since like I don't know, like I got this new job where like I get off in the afternoon, so I'm not getting off late night no more. So I'm always able to hit the gym like no excuses. So every day since like September, I've been like just like going ridiculous. So like I feel you, man. It's like it's a new year. You obviously want to try new things, get new experiences, and like that's the point of a new year. Becoming a new person, getting 1% better like every single day, and like that's been my motto. In life recently, just getting 1% better every day, like really trying to take the time to like improve myself as a person, like in every single facet, not just me as a journalist, not just like me as like a brother, like just me um as a person, period. Like I really try to like look within myself and really try to like improve any flaws, like any bad habits I thought I might have had. And I feel like that's what we're all doing this new year. We'll see how many people keep it up, of course. The new year just started, but yeah, either way, of course, blessed to be here. And how do you feel about the card tonight? We're breaking down a decent fight night. They're back in the Apex, unfortunately. No more arenas until next week, of course. So we get that UFC Seattle. Can't wait for that. But how do you feel about this card going in?
I like it. I mean, we could open it up right now and just look at it. I mean, there's some really good fights on here. You got both the Bond themes fighting. Vince Morales, we got a veteran versus a young guy, Elijah Smith. There's some good fights on here. Jared Gordon, I was just telling you, I didn't even realize this fight was on here. Um, Ketlin's on here. She looked really good. Got a veteran, Angela Hill. There's a lot of good fights. We got two dudes from New England Cartel.
Mm-hmm.
We got some contender series guys. We got some wrestlers. It's good. Like I said, you got both Bond teams, which is really cool for them. Hopefully they could both come out here with a W. I think they're like pretty fan favorites, you could say. Yeah, and then you got Cannonier versus RoboCop. Wondering to see how people feel about that fight.
hmm Yeah, man, it's a pretty interesting one. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on it on Twitter. Before we even get to it, definitely gotta show some love to the boys in the chat. Got the boy Ghost here already in the chat, man. Thank y'all so much for joining us, man. Got the boy Ghost and the boy Ty Bets, always making the best bets, always making that money, making that profit, of course. He just broke some news in the chat for us. We were talking about this before we went live. He said the Gordon fight is off versus Ruzi Boeb.
I didn't even
Um,
know it was on. I'm not gonna lie
yeah.
to you. I didn't even see it was on here originally. That's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, that's crazy. I was doing some more digging into that fight literally before we just pressed the live button. And I'm pretty sure that's like Nurse Sultan Ruzi Boeb's brother. Because his name is Black Jr., like his nickname, and like Nurse Sultan's nickname is just Black, period. And obviously like Nurse Sultan's like 6'5", and that guy's a little smaller as a welterweight. So it's unfortunate. He's looking pretty good on his win streak and stuff like that. So I would have liked to see him fight. They were giving him a good veteran in his debut. So obviously they were pretty high on him as well. So it's unfortunate that we won't get to see him compete. But we'll see how it goes. I think they'll get him rescheduled pretty quickly. Especially, you know, with a guy on that kind of momentum, I definitely think they're gonna want to get him scheduled. But yeah, like I co-sign what you said though. It's a decent card. I like the prelims a lot, most definitely. Yeah, nah, and like yo, and see, like that's the thing. These fights cancel at such a rapid rate. You can really only try your best to keep up, man. Like it's not your fault, you know, like especially with the UFC nowadays, so how many events that they have. Man, like these get canceled like crazy. Obviously we saw, you know, Diego Lopez and like the Danny Ige situation, with Danny Ige stepping up on like literally for like he's like 3 hours notice. Like that shit was ridiculous. But yeah, either way,
Circumstances that could just never happen again. It's gonna be so hard for that to ever happen again. The fact that they were able to meet up at a catch weight, that Lopez shot up to a weight and had someone there, like it's just so rare that's ever gonna happen. And it was in Vegas, so it's like that could only really happen in Vegas because that's where the fighters are.
right. And like they had to get Danny Ige like a bag for that, like without a doubt. Like I definitely think he got a pretty substantial purse, if I had to say so myself. I don't know the disclosed amount, but I do think it was a pretty big purse, if I had to say so myself. But of course, getting to the card though, like that's the reason why y'all are here. I'm gonna appreciate y'all again for joining us. Thank y'all so much. Especially the ones in the chat already. Love you boys, love you girls, always. Always promoting positive energy. It's fights, but of course we always respect everyone's opinion. Everyone has different opinions, so you got no choice but to respect them, of course. And yeah, like that's just how it goes, you feel me? And like yeah, I want to give some love to the boy Gone in the chat. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you. We're clocking this in at 122 subscribers. Of course, we're definitely gonna you know, get the number up as the year goes on, and that's just how, you know, how it goes, really. You know, like every single YouTube channel you have seen has started from the number 0. So it feels good to even like have you boys here, like, you know, supporting us right now, you feel me? And like yeah, also I remember Gonzalo Toro, you were actually our 100th subscriber. I did that stream that day, and I told you I'd never forget that, so thank you again for joining us. And yeah, we can break down this card now. So starting out with the first fight of the night, they're giving us some lovely ladies, as always. Julia Avila versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now, obviously we saw with Avila, came back after having a baby. She hasn't really looked the same. You know, she's 3-2 overall inside the UFC. She's coming off that loss to Miesha Tate, where she got choked out in the 3rd round. Now, of course, that was fresh off her baby because it was a 2-year layoff, 2-year pass from her defeat over Julija Stoliarenko. Yeah, great submission artist she is. But yeah, like that Miesha Tate loss wasn't really the best look, even back in 2023, in my opinion. And I just think she's slowed down, you know, substantially at 36 years old, and she's a mother now. You know, I think you could honestly say the game's kind of passed her by. In her prime, she was a really ferocious boxer, had really fast hands, terrific combinations, especially with her pace and pressure and her chin. She could really just bite down, just spam punches. For those of y'all that play UFC, it's like she was literally spamming square and like, you know, square and circle just over and over, and like just over and over and over and over and over. And yeah, like Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she's 27 years old, 3-0 inside the UFC, so she is undefeated. And yeah, like she's looked great. I mean, like in my opinion, she's looked great. I get it. Her last 2 wins were split decisions over Nora Connolly and Josiane Nunes, but I thought she still made improvements from fight to fight. We know that she has 3 wins by KO and 5 wins via decision, so she's never won via submission, but she's never lost via submission. She's never been finished either. Only losses via decision to Martina Jindrova back in the PFL in 2022. Now, 3 years later, I definitely think she has improved a lot, and she isn't even in her prime yet at 27 years old. And again, I think she's a good fighter. I think she has good stand-up, decent grappling. Like I said, she doesn't have a single win via submission, but she's all right when it hits the floor. This fight will play out on the feet, knowing Julia Avila style. So I was going to go with Cavalcanti. Of course, Avila is a veteran. She could get it done. But I think the youth and the athleticism of the Nightmare will get it done, in my opinion. So I was gonna go with Cavalcanti. But how you feeling in this one? Also, want to give some love to the man Gonzalo Toro in the chat. Giving love to women everywhere. You feel me? Like all of us have a mother. If you are here, whether you are a man or a woman, you have a mom, and of course she pushed you out. And like, yeah, man, like the fact that women can do that is pretty incredible. And yeah, and like even the fact she wanted to fight after that is pretty crazy, knowing she was gonna have to get back in shape, go back through a training camp. Like it's just hard to be the same after that, I would imagine. It's rare you see a female, like of course Mackenzie Dern is one of the most notable examples of a woman giving birth and coming back and becoming a top contender again, and stuff. I mean, hey, even Carla Esparza, I think she had the baby or not, like nah, yeah. She won the belt first. Then like she went to have a baby after. I'm pretty sure she got married after winning the belt. That's what it was. But yeah, like it's rare you see a woman come back and really really be like, super athletic and like, keep her same fight speed before she did have the child. But like I said, shout out to Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, she's a special case. The potential title challenger. Mackenzie Dern. But yeah, how you feeling though, Skinny? I mean, Nikki. PlayStation name, y'all.
You're chilling. Yeah, great breakdown. I'll keep it simple. I'm gonna take Jacqueline in this fight. She has those 2 wins against Nora Cornell. Yeah, I didn't really look too much into this. Not really interested in this fight too much personally. But Jacqueline is on a 6-fight win streak, so I will take that.
Yeah, hey, I can see why you would say that. And yeah, you already know we got to get to the heavyweights. That the traditional heavyweight fight on every single UFC fight night. I'll let you pick first on this one. Go ahead, brother.
For sure. And real quick, I did send you something I saw the other night. There is 15 ranked heavyweights and 15 unranked heavyweights in the UFC, and that is all we got. So UFC heavyweight talent is at an all-time low, and not skill-wise. If you think skill-wise, it's fine, but talent-wise, I mean, just as like roster availability, it's at an all-time low. So this is 2 of 30 heavyweights we got. We got Walter Walker versus Dontel Mays. I don't really want to be out here and hate on every heavyweight, right? But like Walker, he isn't the best, but for Walker, for a heavyweight, he'll go for 3 rounds. You could. He's going to go for takedowns. He's going to try and get you on the ground. He might not get it every time, but he's going to keep shooting takedowns for 3 rounds. So there's something there's credit to give. Like I said, though, he doesn't have the highest skill level. I'm not too high on Mays myself. I personally am taking Walter Walker in this fight. I think he's just going to be shooting for takedowns nonstop, being relentless. I don't think he's going to get put out personally. And I think if he gets Mays down, maybe he gets up one time, but I think he'll be able to hold him down, secure rounds, and do just enough on the feet to win a decision.
You want me to Walter?
Walter Walker.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a close fight. Like the more like after you framed it the way that you did, like I do think it's a pretty close fight. I thought that prior to us breaking this fight down, but as I get closer to having to make a pick now, I'm gonna go Walter Walker. I was picking Walter Walker as well. I just think with Dontel Mays, he's just really, really inconsistent in my opinion. I think Walter Walker is gonna learn from his last win. Of course, the heel hook over Junior Tafa. I can't make too much out of that. Junior Tafa, not really the best UFC competition at all, to be quite honest. No disrespect, of course. We just saw his brother get his nose broken last weekend, and I really hope that Justin Tafa is doing good. I know he has children, so I hope he's all right. Like I can only imagine how devastating a broken nose would be, especially like having to pay the medical bills and stuff like that, recover. But I just think with Walter Walker, he has a lot of potential, like 6'6" heavyweight with a 78-inch reach. Of course, we've seen dudes have like Sergey Pavlovich have like an 84.5-inch reach and stuff like that. But I do think he is a pretty big guy, and he's young. He's 27 years old, so they need young heavyweights. I think he'll only improve. And And yeah, I think like I think he'll just look better in this fight. I'm not saying he'll look spectacular, but I do think he'll show the improvements. I do think he'll come out here with a better game plan in this last fight. Just be more like even more aggressive, trying to take Dontel's head off. You know, I know his personality. I think he's gonna want to really capitalize off his last win, coming with a finish. Regardless of who he got the finish over, of course. And yeah, I'm excited to see how far he can go. Like we know, like the heavyweight division to me has like the more exciting prospects than it did in the past. You know, like how we just saw Taliesin Teixeira over the weekend, who fought on the pay-per-view in the feature bout, like I just mentioned, when he fought Justin Tafa. He's 6'7", and he's like 265, and like he looked like in pretty good shape. He didn't look like all flabby and stuff like that, like a Shamil Gassiev and stuff. And he's young. He just turned 25 years old. You feel me? So, he's I think he has a lot of potential, to be quite honest. Even the one head kick, because the fight was like 35 seconds. You can't really take too much out of that. But the one head kick he did land, it looked really fast when he got it up there like that, you know. So I do think he has a lot of potential. And I think in the next 10 years or so, 15 years, I think all UFC heavyweights are going to look like this, like all at like no shorter than 6'5", 6'6" heavyweights, like no shorter than that. True specimens in the cage. Then we'll eventually, of course, we had Stefan Struve, who was 7 foot tall in the cage. But I just think like it's the way they're gonna be built. Like they'll be like Ngannou's, but like 6'8" and stuff like that. I think they're gonna be crazy. But of course, moving on up the card, Elijah Smith versus Vince Morales. I was gonna go with Elijah Smith in this fight. I like how he looked on Contender Series. The son of Gilbert Smith. I think he has a lot of potential. You know, like he's one of those fighters that have trained since a young age. I think he took his first fight at like 19. So we know his dad has definitely prepared him for this moment. And like, yeah, he's 22 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach in the bantamweight division. So he's a pretty tall bantamweight, pretty tall 135er. He has a really good jab, in my opinion, and I do think the boxing can get it done. He took Aaron Tao's the city kickboxing product, you know, training partner of Dan Hooker, Israel, all those guys. And he came in like with an 8-year age disadvantage, and he won. You feel me? Like he was the way younger guy, came in as the -250 favorite. And indeed looked like it. Of course, here he's coming in a -230. Some people don't like that about this fight in particular. Like they think it's, Elijah's not coming through. Getting a ton of because I was gonna say finishes, but ton of when he came on the Contender Series, like some people really weren't that impressed with his performance. They thought like he didn't have that much power, and even if he did look like a -250 favorite to me, some people still weren't really impressed with that performance. But we're George St. Pierre. But I still think he's a pretty good fighter. And I think with Vince Morales, obviously he's had his ups and downs inside the UFC, the 34-year-old. Elijah has a 1-inch reach advantage in this fight, and we saw how Vince looked against Taylor Lapilus. Obviously Double Impact is a really, really good fighter, so I can't really hold that against Vince Morales that much, but I just think Elijah has the more potential in this fight. You could definitely say that Vince has fought the better competition, even with his 3-6 record. Like he's lost to Jonathan Martinez, lost to Chris Gutierrez, got finished by leg kicks by Chris Gutierrez, lost to Miles Johns. Like he's definitely fought the way better competition. But I'm going with the potential of Elijah Smith in this fight. Like I said, I think his dad prepared him for this moment. He has a really good job, really good boxing overall. This could be a little closer on the betting odds for you bettors out there that do want to take Vince Morales. I do think this could be closer to a pick'em than Elijah being that big of a favorite. Because like I said, I do think that Vince Morales has fought the better competition in this fight. And that could definitely do him some favors, when facing a guy making his official UFC debut. But I think Elijah's going to come in with a really good game plan in this fight, be the faster fighter, the younger fighter, a little bit more athletic and a little bit more upside. And I was going to go with Elijah Smith to win via decision in this fight.
That's a great breakdown. Yeah, I'm definitely one of the people who doesn't like the line personally. I think it's a little wide. It's hard because you've seen it on the last tough season. You put vets against young fighters, and don't get me wrong, Elijah Smith is like a phenomenal up and coming prospect, but it's like you put these veterans against these young prospects, and it could like hinder them more than it could give them a nice win against a UFC veteran. Like Vince, he's someone who's very durable, so it's gonna be hard to put him out, and he has like nasty submissions, so he could end the fight himself. He's out here trying to end the fight. He doesn't want some young buck to just boost off his name, even if he's not ranked. You don't want someone to just boost off your name like that. I'm personally gonna take Vince Morales in this fight. I'm gonna go where the money is at. For my pick, and it's nothing against Elijah Smith. I just think it's early in his career. He's fighting. 34 isn't old at all in the UFC. I'm gonna go with the veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could get it done by a sub or maybe a decision.
I can see why you say that. You feel me? Great pick. Yeah, man. Like, hey, like it's the classic fight of the up and comer versus the veteran, and I'm saying the guy's like 12 years older than homie. So, we're gonna see how this goes. And yeah, moving on to the next one. Really, 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 really excited for this one. But I'll give it to you first. You can give your first pick in this banger, banger, banger of a fight.
All right, we got Gabriel Bonfim versus Chaos Williams. Got that right here. My bout order's all fucked up. So I like Chaos Williams in this one to win by a knockout. Like Bonfim, he's a well-rounded fighter. You know, if you take that with as with a grain of salt, he's mainly a wrestler. Like that's what you know about him. He's very technical, just like his brother, but technical for the first round, the beginning of the fight. He doesn't really have 3 rounds of technical stand-up, in my opinion. He'll look great in the first round. I expect him to win the first round. I don't see him finishing Chaos Williams in the first, and then you got 2 rounds of just Chaos Williams, who's just good enough just to win the later rounds in this fight. He has good defensive grappling, so I don't think he's just going to get taken down and let Gabriel have his way in this fight. Uh, I didn't even check the odds or the fan picks on this one, so I actually do want to open that and see myself. Yeah, slight underdog. I'm going to go with the money again. I expected him to be the underdog. I think the line should be a little closer, but I think it's his last name. And yeah, fan picks, they think he'll win by a knockout too. That's how I'm feeling. What about you?
I was hey, I think is this our first agreement? Nah, I don't think so.
Agreement? I think we only agreed on Cavalcanti.
Yeah, I guess this is our second one. I was gonna go with Chaos too. He's coming in on short notice in this one. It was pretty funny. I was watching this MMA Junkie interview. They were talking about how he's fighting in the UFC Apex again. On a side note, I did think this fight should be on a pay-per-view prelim. This could easily be an ESPN prelim on a stacked card. I thought it would have been great to see this in front of some fans. I think Chaos always fights better in front of fans. I mean, he always fights great regardless, but I always like seeing his knockouts and like the crowd reacts and stuff.
Yo, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Just go with that.
No, you're fine. You're good, bro. And like I was saying, y'all, I think when it comes to this fight, I just think with Chaos, we're still like unlocking the full potential of Williams. I just think with this knockout power, like it's rare you see. We've seen welterweights have knockout power and stuff like that, but he has the death touch, like I like to say. I'm not trying to get too graphic, but I think he's a great fighter, and like even in this fight, obviously he has to worry about the grappling of Gabriel Bonfim, not trying to disrespect his skill set. We saw him wilt against Nicholas Dalby when he gassed out. Of course, he learned from that fight when he came out and got the win over Ange Lusa. But I think in this fight that with Chaos, I think he will be the better striker in this fight. We'll see how it plays out on the ground if it does go there. I am pretty interested. Chaos has never been submitted in 18 fights. And he has 2 wins via submission, so he does have it in his arsenal. Full martial artist, real martial artist. And yeah, he's 6-2 inside the UFC, so he's always looked good. And his only losses are via decision, so he's always been a really solid fighter. He's 30 years old right now. He turns 31 on March 30th, so he is in his prime. You could definitely say that. I think like right now he's hitting his prime, y'all. Like I always say this in MMA, like it's the primes are different. You feel me? When they like from 30 to 33, like that's when like you can be like at like your fastest, like you know, like your most athletic. You feel me? And I think with Chaos, like I think he's finally starting to hit that stage of his career. I'm not trying to make it seem like it's such a one-sided fight. It's not like that. Of course, with Gabriel Bonfim, he has a phenomenal record, 16-1. I think he's the better out of the Bonfim brothers. You know, he's 27 years old, 6'1" with a 72.5-inch reach. And he, you know, he's pretty good in my opinion. I've always been pretty high on his grappling, on his jiu-jitsu. Like I said, in the Oslusa fight, he did look pretty good. But you know, it's just for me, like the Nicholas Dalby loss is always gonna haunt a lot of people in the future when they think about betting on him. Obviously we saw how you know it affected Nikki in terms of the betting. But yeah, bro, like for me, I was just giving my pick in the fight and like, you know, the reason why I was picking Chaos. But I did want to show some love to Gabriel Bonfim. You know, like I said, this guy's a regional scene champion. When he won a title in LFA, that's what got him to Contender Series. When he submitted the 13-3 Eduardo Garvan with the darts choke in the first round. So he has trained for 5 rounds. So we know the cardio is solid and all of that. But we know when he's pressured, he can be hurt. And he can't be clipped. So I was gonna go with Chaos Williams in this fight. I don't know if he'll knock him out, to be quite honest with you. But I do think, you know, the power can be enough to really want to make Bonfim not want to engage as much. And I think that's where Chaos can start to apply his pressure and start to throw bombs and things of that nature. So I was gonna go with Chaos Williams in this fight. Because you said first round knockout, did you?
No. I think second or third round.
Second. I was gonna go with Chaos Williams right third round TKO. I think it's gonna be a war to the first 2 rounds, and I think the power's gonna like really set in, and I think he's gonna clip him and hurt him, and I think it's gonna be over. You know,
I think Bonfim might just start getting weathered, and he's starting shooting reckless takedowns, and they're getting stuffed, and then he's just, you know, he's just tired, circling around the cage, and Chaos lands one good shot, and then that changes everything.
Especially when you're tired, you know, like fatigue makes cowards of us all. You feel me? So I never feel like anyone's exclusive. You know, unless you're Marab Davashvili, of course. You know, you know, and like exactly, and like it's cool because like I always say, like every champion throughout history had that special. Every like in like you know like champion that like defended the belt and stuff like that. Every champion had the thing that like made them the champion. I always say it's like a special badge, you know, like. And for Marab, when it goes down in history, it's gonna be his gas tank. Obviously, it helped out. There was a lot of wrestling champions, stuff like that, but it was his gas tank. You know, for Alexandre Pantoja, it's gonna be his grappling. You feel me? That made him the champion. For Israel Adesanya, it's gonna be his striking. You know, just stuff like that. Like these dudes, they're real legends, stuff like that. Oh, it's like how like the champions had special badges, special techniques, of course, that made them dominate the divisions that they did. And of course, moving on to the next one. Really like this fight. Won't take too long on it though, because I am really high on Rafael Estevam. I was gonna go with Estevam via decision. I think he wins anywhere the fight goes. I think he'll be the better striker, the better grappler, the better everything. I do think he is undefeated for a reason. I am high on him. I just want him to be active this year. I think it's hard for him to make the 125 weight limit. And yeah, I think at least in this fight though, I do think he will continue his era of dominance, you could say. And yeah, like I'm really excited for Rafael Estevam in this division. I just want him to be more active this year in 2025, man. Like it's a lot of flyweights coming up right now, like Asu Almabayev, who I think is actually in a main event now, versus Manel Kape. So we have a lot of guys that are climbing up the ladder, undefeated or not, you know. So I definitely want to see me. Hey, man, Steve Erceg's got another main event versus Brandon Moreno in Mexico City. So he's fighting the number 2 contender or the chance to get a title shot. If he
games till Mokaev comes back, though. That's my opinion.
Yeah, man, it's unfortunate, like, cause he was next in line, man. He was the
That's the
number
second
6.
best flyweight in the world, dude. I don't care
You
what
think so?
anybody says.
Really? Like,
Right
for
behind
real?
Pantoja, he's the best in the world, dude. There's no one else fucking with that dude.
Fighting over in Brave, huh? I feel you. Nah, I
It's
get it.
crazy that he is at that level, dude. You know?
Nah, like I understand. Like I do think they will bring him back. I think they'll see he's too popular to not keep in, and I think the flyweight division eventually will start to run out of guys. Um, like eventually, because he's way younger than most of the dudes that are in their prime right now that are climbing to the top. He's like still 24 years old. So
Yep.
by the time when he's 28, 29, and he's just absolute undefeated and this and that, like, and then he'll be in his prime. He won't have to resort to the weird takedowns. He would have to to try to get the fight to the ground. Try to get a win, stall, get some control time. I think he'll really fill out in his body, really become the full version of the Punisher that he is destined to become. And I do think that Dana will bring him back one day. It's not like an Igor Severino situation where he bit Andre Lima and like they had to kick him out the UFC and all that. I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think we'll see how popular he is and how he grew as a person. And I do think they'll bring him back. So but yeah, who are you picking in this fight?
I'm
Aguilar
right
or
with
Esteban?
you. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like Rafael Estevam in this one. He has great wrestling and he has solid Muay Thai. You mix those two together, you got yourself a great fighter right there. He doesn't really get tired and he's gonna keep going. He's gonna fight all 3 rounds if it goes 3 rounds, unless he gets to the finish. Jesus Aguilar, he doesn't fight with the highest skill for me. He's kind of like a swing or miss kind of fighter. So
Mm-hmm.
like unless you're like a gambler, I don't know why you would take that in the fight. Um, they said he loves his guillotines and stuff. And when he's in that position, if someone goes for a takedown, he's gonna sell out for the guillotine, which isn't the smartest. I finally learned myself. And then they say he throws a lot of overhands. So it's not like Esteban has a crazy game plan to set for this fight. It should be pretty easy for him personally,
Mm-hmm.
and I am winning this one by submission.
Sub, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, hey, it's Nikki with another finish. You feel me? I mean, hey, I can see why you would say that. He's a really good fighter. I'm really high at like Estevam. Like, could you pull up how old he is? I forgot.
Got you right now.
Um,
He is 28 years old.
so he's just now approaching the prime of his career. So, he's young, man, and I do think like I mentioned before you came back, like these fighters that hit 30, I think 30 to 33 is like the prime age for any like martial arts. Like that's when you're at like your fastest, your strongest. Like that's when like 33, like you're in your prime. Like don't feel like these dudes are gonna fall off. Like when they hit 34, 35, like they could still certain fighters can still be in their prime at 35. Like I'm thinking like of some dudes like not like in the past.
Volk was in his prime at 35. I still felt, that was the end of it, but he was still in his prime at 35. Islam's 34,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
Islam's in that category. John Jones,
He was in his prime at 35.
he
Yes, he
was in
was.
his prime at 35 for sure.
Some people might say, I mean, because he's 37 right now. I'm thinking like John's fucking 40. Some people might because he didn't fight at 35. Well,
He missed
I,
those
I
years.
think when he
It
fought
doesn't matter.
Gone, was he 36? No, he wasn't 30. See, yeah, he was 35 when he fought Gone. So you can say he was
Still
still
the
in his
same.
prime.
Yeah.
You can say
Finished that
that. I
shit
mean,
in less than a minute. And you got to give him credit because dudes like Volkov went to a decision, and Volkov is one of the greatest heavyweights in the world. Nagano, he didn't finish, he didn't submit Jones, and I'm not trying to compare John Jones right now, but it's just at the same time, you got to give him respect that he packed up Gon that fucking quick. All game plan went out the window. He wrapped his arm around that neck on that guillotine, and that dude Gon could not move off the cage. He tapped. So you got to give him credit where it's due. But this is not a John Jones podcast because we do not need everyone getting mad and telling us what kind of person he is.
yeah, no, of course. And yeah, I did just check to make sure. Yep, John Jones was 35 years old in 7 months when he submitted Cyril Gane at UFC 285 back in 2023. So like it's pretty crazy how fast time can fly already. And like, hey, like hopefully I do think he'll fight Aspinall. I'm praying. I do think that is one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest fight in UFC history, because the greatest of all time has his biggest threat that he's ever faced in his entire career. And moving on to the next fight, of course, Jared Gordon versus Ruzi Boev. Apparently, this fight's not on the card anymore. but we're still gonna give it the respect it deserves in case that it is. I was gonna go with Ruzi Boev in this fight. I just think Jared Gordon's getting to the point where like he's fairly inconsistent now at 36 years old. We know he's had his fair share of injuries and things of that nature. I thought he beat Paddy Pimblett. I felt really bad for him. When that happened at UFC 282, I thought that was really, really tragic. Like when he won, I think the UFC did take care of him. I hope he didn't walk away with half a paycheck that night, because if he did, like that was just like that's just awful. Like we saw what has happened to Jamal Pogues at the UFC Saudi Arabia event. I thought he beat Hamdi Abdul Wahab. I'm not trying to mess his last name up. I thought he won that fight, and you even saw Pogues' jaw hit the floor when the results came out. So we know decisions have been wishy-washy in the past, but and I do think that Gordon did beat Paddy Pimblett, but it's just lately I do think he has slowed down at 36, and I think Rusi Boyev, he just has a lot of momentum right now, and I think he's looked good. Like looking at like what I've seen on his resume, and yeah, like I just was honestly just gonna go with him based off his momentum right now. He's the younger fighter. I think he'll be more athletic in the fight. This is at 155. So and like yeah, Brucey Boyb's younger by 7 years. So I do think, like 8 years. Sorry about that. 8 years. He's younger, and he is the taller opponent. His reach is not listed in the matchup, so because we know he's fighting on the regional scene coming into this one. But like I said, though, I do think he is related to Nursultan Ruziboyev. His name is literally Black Jr., and he's from Uzbekistan, just like Nursultan Ruziboyev. So, hey, like we'll see how it goes. Like this guy, he has 12 wins via KO, never been knocked out, and he has 2 losses via sub, 5 wins via sub. So, his last win, he won in 38 seconds. Of course, over an 8 and 9 guy, you can't really take too much away from that. But before that, he did beat a 20 and 11 guy in 32 seconds. So this guy's looking pretty good, and these are by ground and pound. So he's getting this guy to the ground at lightning speed and finishing these dudes, but wasting no time. So I was gonna go with Rusi Boev, but we'll see how it goes. Though we know that Jared's a good grappler. He still trains at Henzo Gracie's gym. Henzo's Academy. I believe it's New York. So yep, it's in New York, most definitely. So he's still training out of the Big Apple. We know how world class of a city that New York City is, and all the training partners that he could definitely get up there in terms of the grappling. Which this fight will probably be a grappling fight if the fight happens, But yeah, I was gonna go with Rusi Boev in this one. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm not gonna bullshit and act like I prepared for this one, so I didn't, because I didn't know about it. But I'll ride the tail. It's Ruzi Bov. I know the last name, so that's enough for me, I guess, in this one. Yeah, like if I was betting at this point, I wouldn't bet on this fight because I didn't know nothing about it. So yeah, I'll go Ruzi Bov with you. I guess we'll find out on Saturday if they'll be talking about his brother the whole time if they are brothers. So
right. And when his card started, it starts at 4:00 on.
No, it's not a regular late night 6:00. Oh, it's 4. Why is it?
It's a 4 or it's a 4 and a 7. It's a 4 and a 7. That's great. I just had something to do at 12, so I just wanted to make sure I could get home, hit the gym and be comfortable before the whole card starts. Gotta enjoy the Saturday nights, fight nights, of course. But moving on up the card, you can pick first in our next ladies fight of the night. Gotta love Angela Hill when she steps out there, always.
We got the veteran Angela Hill. I think she's 40 at the age of this fight, maybe 41.
In the strawweight division.
Yeah. Versus Ketlin Souza. Listen, I'm taking Ketlin to win this one by decision, and I had trouble because I was back and forth. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. Like, Angela's good. She's a good striker. She's comfortable anywhere on the fight, honestly. She gets hit a lot, but she doesn't take too much damage, which is nice. But she's older. Like, say when father time comes, I feel like I guess mother time is there too. Like, how well can you compete at 40? I personally think Ketlin's a dog. That's my real reason. It's like if this was another female fighter, I probably wouldn't go back and forth as much. But after Ketten's last performance, I mean, she's a dog, dude. That bomb she landed in the last fight was just insane. She fights like a dude. It's crazy. Remember speaking about this. She really hits like a dude. Um, yeah, man, just the nasty power. I think Angela, if she gets hit a lot, this is a fight where she could take a little more damage. I think it'll be a competitive fight though, but I'm gonna take Ketlin to win this one by a decision.
This is a close one, man. This is a really, really close fight, in my opinion. Starting out with Hill because I think it's so close. She lost to Tabitha Ricci in her last fight by unanimous decision. It wasn't her best performance. I definitely thought she could have looked better. You could definitely make the case the age was definitely catching up to her in that one. But before that, she submitted Luana Pineda with a mounted guillotine. I thought it was a great submission. Even though some people aren't that high on Pineda. And the win over Denise Gomes, I definitely can't ignore that. That's a great win. Even though it was back in 2023, I thought it was a phenomenal win, especially seeing how Gomes has performed already. Doing some MMA math, we know that Denise Gomes also knocked out Yasmin Hauriki, just like Ketlin Sosa did. I think that kind of, it just shows that Yasmin Hauriki definitely, you can say some chin issues, but I think it's also a matter of game plan with Howard. I think she'll come out and not really approach the fight the best way in terms of the striking before she gets clipped and submitted. But we've seen her go down hard off these girls. It's either these girls hit really, really hard, or Yasmin indeed has chin issues. And we know with the Mackenzie Dern fight, when she lost to her, it was a really, really bad loss for Angela over the course of 5 rounds. You could see that Mackenzie, who was going through a divorce around that time, was really just taking out all her frustration in that fight. And I'm not saying that to be funny. Even Michael Bisping was saying it on the broadcast. You get to see it when she was hammer fisting her. You're just it's like she was really just letting out all of her pain that she was going through in her personal life. So she ran into a buzzsaw in that fight. Before that, she beat Emily Ducote. So as I'm listing off these wins, it's wins and loss. So it's like Hella's been throughout the UFC throughout her entire career, but the recent wins, I think they have been pretty solid, especially that win over Lupita Godinez back in 2022. I thought that was a really good win too, even though it was 3 years ago. And like Nikki said, Ketlin Sosa, she's really, really powerful. She's 29 years old, 5'3", with a 63-inch reach. So Hill will have the reach advantage in this fight by a half or 1.5 inches. But I think it's Hill's experience in this fight that that gives her a slight advantage, honestly. And it's a close one, man. The betting odds really show that, in my opinion. It just depends how Hill looks, man. Because I think she can strike with this girl, yeah, but it's she can have the same speed that she used to. She can have the same power. The Hill has 5 wins via KO, but she hasn't gotten a knockout win recently. It's a close fight, man. It's a close one, bruh. It's a close one. Because I'm looking at who they fought, because Kellen Sosa lost to Karine Silva. We know that Karine Silva did not look that good recently, at all, actually. And we know that Kellen Sosa did get knee barred by her. Of course, that was almost 2 years ago now. But still, it did indeed happen. And either way, of course, I don't think Hill's going to try to... She can wrestle now. She has improved her wrestling. But I don't know if she'll try to get this fight to the ground and try to get a submission. I think she will try to strike with her, especially being at, not disrespecting her, of course, because she's a woman, at her age, I do think she will be, I think she would have slowed down just a tiny bit, regardless, of the shape that she's in. It's father time at the end of the day, like Nikki did say. It's a close one, man. I keep talking in circles. I'm gonna go with Angela Hill, man. Screw it, bro. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Hill. I think she's fought the better competition. I think she's looked good still. She's the betting favorite going into this fight. We know she could take the fight anywhere. She could wrestle. She could strike too. Um, I think she's looked good in her training camp, with Jessica Pena and all of her training partners. Like I get it, like Susan could come in here and like this could be Hill's worst performance ever and stuff like that. I think from what we've seen like from her recently, she's still looked good. Like her last 2 wins, one of them came by way of finish with the mounted guillotine. So she's still training every facet of the game every day. She's still in great shape, and I still think she wants to compete. So we're gonna see how she looks in this one. I think she might have the better gas tank, but we'll see how it goes. Of course, this is going to be a close fight. We know Hill has lost decisions before, but she's won them too. Of course, 11 wins come by way of decision for Angela Hill. So I was going to go with Hill in this one, but we'll see how it goes, man. It's a close one, y'all. I'm not going to lie. It's a really, really close one, man. Shout out to Angie, most definitely. And yeah. Moving on to the main card, want to thank y'all again for joining us. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as we roll on to the final 5 fights of the night. And yeah, man, this this main card is pretty solid. I wish it was a pay-per-view. Some people think it's better than the last pay-per-view that took place, like this 5-fight run that we have here. But of course, we'll see how it plays out, though. Going into this one, Jose Delgado versus Connor Matthews. Now, a lot of people I've seen all over social media are high on Delgado. He has a pretty good resume, as you can see. Pretty good athletic fighter, for what I have seen. Good striking, good grappling for the young American, the 26-year-old. On Contender Series, I thought he looked great. When he won with the knee over Ernie Juarez. In LFA, he looked good too. Like all those wins by way of finish, like left hook over Lucas Fardia, winning my strikes over Alberto Romero. Like, and these guys don't have bad records, so he's beating good competition. He's really showing his level when you're finishing dudes who have like pretty solid records themselves. Like, I don't think people really realize how many fighters are really on the regional scene, like in the world. Like if you guys really go on like Tapology, there are so many dudes that have negative records. Like these dudes that have like positive positive record, like Sean Strickland, like a 29-6. Like that's crazy to have. That's really, really, really hard to have, y'all. So the fact he's beating these dudes like really, and by way of finish, the way that he is, really shows his level. He really is a high level striker. Of course, he has lost before when he lost to Chris Makate in the UFL back in 2023 on February 18th. But he learned from that loss and rattled off 5 wins in a row after that. So I do think he's looked good in his last few fights. Like even with his amateur career, like he took a lot of amateur fights and like it really did him well, like most of those he was winning by finish too, by a wide variety of finish, like submissions, knockouts. So really well-rounded fighter, the young 26-year-old. His birthday's on April 21st, so he's about to turn 27, only getting better. He's 5'11" with 73-inch reach in the featherweight division. So I'm really excited for his future, honestly. I do think he is going to be one of those bright prospects moving forward coming out of Phoenix, Arizona. And, of course, Connor Matthews, the 32-year-old, the controller, his nickname is. Yeah, man, like this guy's pretty good as well. He went 1-1 on Contender Series, where he lost to Francis Marshall via decision before getting the contract. He came on and beat Jair Fardias, who took his actually, for you guys picking Connor Matthews. So this guy has a pretty cool story himself, so that's why I always like break it down both sides, of course. But we know he lost his last fight to Dennis Buzukja. He got knocked out by Buzukja, which, of course, the Ray Longo product. Some people aren't that high on Dennis Buzukja. Like, I think he's a pretty good fighter. He showcased, he had showcased power before in his career. Just going over to Buzukja, he has 5 wins by way of KO, so it's not an anomaly that he got a KO over Connor Matthews. He's a pretty good fighter. And I think with Connor Matthews' career, He's been pretty solid. He's only been knocked out that one time. He's never been submitted, and he's only lost via decision for his second loss. So yes, 5 wins via sub. So you could definitely say he's more of a grappler than a knockout artist for sure. So you could definitely say this is striker versus grappler. He's a New England cartel guy, Calvin Cater, formerly Rob Font. I'm pretty sure Rob Font. I think he trains at TriStar now. Like something like that. I know like he doesn't train, at least not that much, like not primarily with New England Cartel anymore. And he's looked great because of he looked great in his last fight. Rob Font did. Shout out to Rob Font, of course, the boxer. But yeah, like again, like Connor Matthews, like I think he's all right. I do think that Delgado will be the better striker in this fight. I see why everyone is picking him in this fight, and I'm honestly gonna tail him. And I think that, like, with this performance in particular, I think it's going to be a really good debut in the way that, like, he'll really make the UFC want to push him because of his style, like his fan-friendly style, really dynamic with the hands and the kicks. And I think he's a good fighter. I think the UFC are going to push him. Of course, he's American, but we know they're always going to Mexico City. And he's from Arizona. We know that Arizona has like a really big Latin community. We know that Trace Cortez is also from Phoenix, Arizona as well. So I would definitely like to see how he does inside the UFC. He's super young, so we're gonna see him for a long time. And I'm really excited for it. But how do you feel about this fight? And who are you picking in the first fight of the main card?
Yeah, I'm very high on Connor Matthews. I do think he's one of the better fighters out of New England Cartel. Um, So Delgado, he's 5'11", and he doesn't really fill out his frame too well in his body versus Connor Matthews, who has a very big frame at 5'8". And then Connor's just going to be a way more technical fighter, in my opinion. He has good stand up. Delgado's a very he's like a dog fighter. Like he likes those brawls. He likes to be in the middle and just swinging and swinging. And I feel like Connor could eat those personally. I know he got put out by Dennis Bazooka, but I'm also pretty high on Dennis Bazooka. I mean, his last name is literally Bazooka. Like he has heavy hands, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like Delgado has very good cardio. I'll give him that. But I think Matthews has more power, and I think when they get in those exchanges, I think he could really do some nice damage, land some good clean strikes. I have Matthews winning this one by knockout.
My knockout. Damn, really?
Man, I got him winning by knockout. I think there's gonna be a lot of finishes on this card. I was picking finishes for all these fights, so I'm like, fuck it, finish, finish, finish. How can this guy win? Finish. If Listen, I think I got finishes almost all the way down the line. I got pretty much. I picked
I was
two
thinking about
decisions
really
on
doing
this,
my
three
topology
decisions.
picks. Oh
I
yeah,
gotta start
like
doing those again. I forgot. I've been slacking on those. They don't do nothing. So it's just like it's just cool to stack them and in the future, but I'd be forgetting personally.
I'd be thinking like, man, like I want to be like in 2034, like looking back at like the
I
fights I
know.
picked,
It'd be
like
cool.
yeah,
It'd be
like
cool.
nah, for sure, like and it's fun, like at least of course there's gonna be people that try to track your picks and stuff like that, but it's martial arts, like anything can happen. And like and people claim like, bro, even when you get a fight right, like it's luck most of the time.
Yeah.
Any result can happen in a fight. So and people say flukes and stuff like that. I don't believe in flukes. These are the best martial artists in the world. It's disrespectful to say they win by flukes, in my opinion. And yeah, moving on to the next one. Yeah, man, this fight is pretty intriguing because of the grappling. But I want to hear who you're picking first in this one. You can go first.
I'm taking Vieira to win this one by submission, staying on the finish track. So we got two really dominant wrestlers in this fight. We got Vieira, who's a more submission-based wrestler, and then we have Petrosky, who's more of just, or I should say grapplers, the two dominant grapplers, right? So you have Vieira, who's the more submission-based grappler, and then you have Petrosky, who's the more wrestling-based grappler. So just going off that, they kind of cancel each other out. But I'm gonna follow the guy who's gonna chase the finish. We got a Renzo Gracie versus Grappling Fight Team. I think those are both very good gyms. I keep it simple. Like I said, I'm gonna pick the guy who I think is gonna chase the finish. I think Petrosky's leaning more towards he'd win a decision. So I'm gonna go with the black belt Hunter.
I remember when he came on. It's pretty funny looking back on it. I guess it's not that much of an upset anymore. When he lost to Anthony Hernandez, he was such a massive prospect. Like when he first got inside the UFC with his grappling credentials and stuff like that, everyone wanted to see how he was going to do. And in Anthony Hernandez, and obviously you see how Dolfo's like shredded. You feel me? So when Anthony came in with like his regular build, like you can see walking, like you can see Anthony, a guy like Anthony, walking down the street. Of course, he's a world class athlete, 100% the ranked middleweight. But still, though, like he's like a regular guy, at least back then, And he came out and he out grappled him, choked him out, and then now, like looking back on it, that's not a surprise, Shout out to Fluffy, 100%. Could be potential future champion. That guy, really dominant grappling at middleweight. I would love to see him versus Bo Nickel. I'd love that.
That'd be good.
That'd be amazing. Absolutely.
Because he can't just stand and it be a safe fight against Fluffy. It's not like Paul Craig, It's gonna be a mixed martial arts fight, but there's gonna be high level wrestling.
Exactly. It would just be the gas tanks for me. But yeah, going into this one, we saw how Petrosky lost on the Ultimate Fighter versus Brian Battle when he gassed out, and I think that's gonna be like honestly, similar to this result. I do think that Rodolfo can replicate like kind of a similar thing. They're gonna grapple. I do think Rodolfo will be better in the transitions with it in terms of the jiu-jitsu, be more dangerous down there. I do think he'll be able to get to the back sometimes here and there. And really just the control time. And I think with two dominant wrestlers and grapplers like that, I always like taking the guy who has better jiu-jitsu because of course he can attack a submission at any moment off the back, against the cage, on top, doesn't matter. And yeah, I was gonna go with Vieira as well. He's looked great in his last two fights. Really learned from that UFC debut when he gassed out the way that he did, and you can tell that he's nervous when he's in there. So he really still respects the game. And he's always training really hard. I'm really high on him, and he's really trying to learn his English too. You can tell during his media days, which I'm actually going to watch after this. I'm excited to watch the media day. I missed it at work, so. And yeah, like we'll see how he does, but I do think he'll win. He will win this fight. I think he'll win it by second round submission. I don't I don't think it goes to a decision. Like I said, when you have two really wrestle heavy grapplers like this, it's really predominantly all they do. It's bound to happen with someone attacking a submission. I think with someone that's high level as Adolfo, I do think he can sink it in the moment he attempts it. So I was going to go with Vieira in this fight.
That's a good pick. Just 2 for 2 on him.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to the next one.
Left.
This fight is pretty incredible. It's gonna be pretty good, pretty fun, pretty amazing to watch. I like both these guys, Nazim Sadikov, and Ismail Bonfim. I can't really say who I've liked more throughout their career. Obviously, we saw Ismail Bonfim get submitted by Benoit Saint Denis, and that's not a good look looking back on it at all. To be quite honest, but of course, we know when Benoit first came on the scene, he was, he was young, but he's still young now. But I just think that he took some hard losses, against Dustin Poirier and the former title challenger Renato Moicano. And I think obviously if you watch that fight, Bonfim kept telling him, "Hey, kick me." Like he kept egging him on, and he got kicked, and I forgot how he got him to the ground, but he got his back and he choked him out. And it was just like, I know, like Bonfim 100% learned from that loss, and that probably changed his outlook on his entire career, even though he had losses prior to that. That's his first UFC loss, and it really killed his hype. And I do think he has taken a better approach in the cage since then. And fighting Nazim Sadikov, this guy's a really good boxer. Another Longo Weidman product. Really high on him, fighting out of New York with Uzbekistan lineage with his family, of course. He's a great fighter, in my opinion. I really do like watching him fight in the cage. I just think he has to be more active himself. And honestly, I think he can win this fight, in my opinion. Ismail, you could definitely see has the more wide variety of strikes, flying knees, good kicks, good body kicks, good leg kicks. He has good hands too. The more ferocious striker, I think Nazim's a little more technical in the boxing combinations when he'll go to the body and stuff like that. It's a close fight in my opinion. But I was gonna go with Nazim Sadikov in this fight. I do think he can get it done. I just always thought he was a pretty good fighter. I know he went to a draw last time, with Vyacheslav Borslev, who we just saw lose. But I do think he'll only improve from that fight. And he's a tough guy. He has a good gas tank, good striking too. This is a close one in my opinion. It could really go either way. But I was gonna go with Nazim Sadikov in this fight. I think it's a close one, man. Obviously, like, when the Bonfim brothers fight on the same card like that, it does inspire them. But for me, like, it's just, I don't know, man. I do like Longo MMA as a gym. I've always been really high on their coaches. Obviously, they produce numerous champions coming out of there, and I think that Ray Longo is gonna have a great game plan for Nazim Sadikov. And I think it's going to show in this fight, and his improvements will show as well. Coming in as a plus 120 underdog, obviously that's where the money's at. But it's almost a pick 'em fight. It's a really, really close fight. But I was going to go with the Black Wolf in this fight.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, and I'm gonna take Ismail Bonfim in this one. I had to take one Bonfim, and I was saving it for the one that I thought was a little better. Um, Yeah, I mean, he's just extremely talented. He doesn't have many flaws outside of his experience for me. That's the only thing really holding him back. He just needs more fights to really, UFC fights, I should say, to really fill out, what he's gonna be. Nazim, he has solid grappling, and like you said, he's a good boxer. I just and he has technical boxing. I think Ismail's a more technical mixed martial artist. Um, I could see him winning this one by knockout. Uh, I didn't know he was a Longo MMA guy, so I'm trying not to just second guess myself because, like you said, they come with great game plans. They're very smart. But I'm gonna stick with my pick. I'm not gonna second guess literally as I'm picking. I'm gonna stick with Ismail Bonfim. I feel like it's a safe pick. Very close line, so that's great. It's not some wide lines. So yeah.
Close fight. Very, very close fight. That's one of the more high level fights in the card, in my opinion. That's a main card fight if I'd ever seen one. I won't spend too much time on this one. I was gonna go with Edmund Shabazian in this one. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns and get the KO in the first round. No disrespect to Dylan Budka. I just think that Edmund has fought the way better competition. The main thing with Edmund is that he'll gas out when the pressure is applied. And he will lose mainly to really, really good grapplers, like Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Imavov, who is known as a striker, but of course he is Russian, so he can definitely wrestle a little bit. And yeah, man, like I think Edmund, like of course the former training partner of Ronda Rousey, he's a great striker, man, the Golden Boy. He came in, pretty sure he was undefeated when he first came in, when he lost to Derek Brunson. So, like. I just think after that, like it really shook him to the core back in 2020, and he was really young when that happened because he's still only 27 right now. So, I just think right now, like we're gonna see Edmund make those improvements, and I think again he's fought the way better competition than the 7-4 Dylan Budka. And I was gonna go with Edmund Shabazian in this fight to win by a first round knockout.
I'm right with you on that one. I didn't really fill out a pick, but I was more leaning to Edmund on this one. It's a 50-50 fight. It's not the highest skill level. It's pretty high up on the card, honestly, in my opinion. Edmund, he comes out the gate. That's when he's the best. Obviously, he's fresh, but he's the first round fighter. I see him winning in the first round. Dylan, he's like a wrestler, but he doesn't really chase the finish too much. So it's just hard to pick someone. Like I'm God, I'm stuttering. It's hard to really have faith in fighters that don't chase finishes unless they are just so damn dominant. Like you put Sean Strickland against a lot of dudes, and you just have to pick him because he's not going to chase the finish, but he's just so dominant in the way he fights. And Merab, prime example. Like he's not going to finish the fight, but you're almost guaranteed he's going to win the decision against like a lot of people. I mean, at this point, everyone, right? But like before these fights, you're like, oh, he could beat everyone else. We'll see about this dude. So yeah, if you're near picking a guy and they don't prove that they could finish fights, it's really hard to pick them. I'll take my chance and say Edmund could finish this one in the first round if I had to make a pick.
Mm-hmm.
Right on the same boat with you.
Yep, great pick. You can pick first in this one. Go ahead. You take co-main.
All right, we got Zalal versus Calvin Kattar, and now, so just for reference, Calvin Kattar is coming off that fight with Aljamain where he did get outclassed on the feet against a wrestler. He's still coming off that ACL injury at 36. I don't know if there's a comeback at this point of his career. It's going to be very tough to come back from that. He did not look good in that fight. He looked uncomfortable, and now Aljo's a champion. Don't get me wrong, but he looked super uncomfortable in that fight. Zalal is at the top of his game right now. Like, he looks excellent in his recent fights. And this Calvin has questions around him, so I'm taking Zalal to win this one by decision. I know Kattar has good boxing. But I just think Zalal's going to be way quicker in this fight. He's going to be cutting off angles. He's just going to be dominant on the stand-up. Even against someone who's really good with boxing, I think Zalal is just going to be all over the place, just controlling this fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love Yusuf Salah for his story. Getting cut from the UFC is extremely difficult. You know, like really seeing that really slip away from you. Like when you were walking through the halls, when you were in the Performance Institute, when you were training with the fighters, like when you knew, when your family knew you were a UFC fighter, you know, like that was something that I'm pretty sure he took a lot of pride in. So when he lost it and he had to go back to the regional scene like that, like going back to the gym to train for that regional scene fight takes a lot of balls. I mean, a lot of people like would have let their ego get in the way, you know, and like the fact he at one point he took 3 fights in one night, with the little mini tournament that he did and he won, you know, so really shows you the cloth he's cut from, and I'm really happy to see him back. He's a really nice guy. When you watch his interviews, I love watching his interviews. He should do a podcast because he has a really good personality, and of course everyone's always going through something, but he makes it seem like, you know, he's always going, you know, through positive stuff, you know, but of course everyone's always going through something, you know. Of course, being a fighter, you know, he's definitely always going through something for sure. And yeah, man, going into this one, this is his biggest step up in competition, obviously, but I do think he will rise to the occasion. I was going to go with Yusuf Salah on this one as well. He's looked great since he came back. You know, when he submitted Jack Shore, submitted Billy Quarantillo, like he just looked really, really, really good. It's the way that he did it. Like I mentioned in the Delgado fight, it's pretty funny because Nikki is picking against him. When you're showing your level like that against the guys that you're facing, don't get me wrong, it could be like just stylistic matchup, but he's going in there and he's smoking these dudes. So he's really went improved to such a level where like he can impose his game plan in a flash, and I think he will be the better wrestler in this one. I think with the knee injury, it's harder for Calvin to be able to stuff takedowns the way that he used to, be able to really grapple, like clinch the way that he used to, like up against the cage and stuff like that, and try to grit down, bend his knees, and try to stuff them takedowns. I think it's gotten a little harder with his injuries and his age, you know. So I was gonna go with Yusuf Salah on this one. But yeah, like it's you never know. Like Calvin Kattar has fought the better competition, but I don't think he's the same Calvin Kattar. You know, we saw knockout Jeremy Stevens. You know, like all the elbows against Giga Chikadze. You know, I think the injuries have definitely played a part for sure. And I think Zalal is gonna look great in this fight.
Alrighty, moving on to the main event of this fight night.
Yeah, man. It's another close one in my opinion. You feel me? But yeah, you can be the first pick of the first last pick of the night. Well, the last
For
first
sure.
pick. Yeah.
So we have Jared Cannonier, and man, father time, like father time. He is almost 41 years old, man. Hell of a career. He was fighting for a belt at 38, so that's impressive itself. He broke a record at, was it 39 years old with the Marvin Vettori fight?
Marvin Vettori, yeah.
So, like, father time is tough, but it's definitely caught up. I could say he's on a 2-fight losing streak now. His best days are behind him, and that's sad. Yeah, he's still a powerful striker. Power's the last thing to go. But it's a 5-round fight, and you're fighting someone who just won't go down. RoboCop is tough, dude. You seen that knee he got cut here? He didn't go out. The fight with Park, I mean, he was like out of it and he turned it around and he put that boy out. He's a really good fighter. I remember I was picking against him and I think he was fighting who's the UK dude? Chris Leroy Duncan,
Christian
right?
Leroy Duncan, yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't know too much about Gregory Rodriguez. I picked against him in that fight. And boy, I was wrong. Gregory Rodriguez is tough, dude. He's a good fighter. Yeah, I'm definitely taking Gregory to win this one by a knockout. It's 5 rounds. I can't see Jared going through all 5 against someone as tough. It's just I think he'll hit. He'll look good. He'll definitely no, not definitely. He'll maybe take a round. I think he'll do some good damage. But I think they're both gonna gas. That's the crazy part. Gregory's gonna gas too. They're gonna gas, but I think Gregory has more recovery in him. So they might both be gassed and they're swinging slow. But then Gregory's just gonna recover. Like once Jared's out of gas, he's out of gas for the rest of the fight. So yeah, I didn't really want to when I first saw this fight was picked. I didn't really want to like internally pick something because I knew I was gonna pick against Jared Cannonier, and I like Cannonier. I thought he was a really cool middleweight. I thought he had another run in him maybe with how the middleweight was looking for a little bit. But no, I'm taking RoboCop to win this one by decision. He has knockout power and he has great jiu-jitsu. So,
But what about the Fajeda fight?
what about it?
Look, like like when he got slept and he was out cold and
it could happen. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, he's gonna take that. But like, what about the times when he didn't go out? He's a tough motherfucker. I'm not saying he's invincible. I don't think anyone's invincible. So you get hit in the right spot, you're out. You get hit on the chin. You get hit behind the ear. You're out. No matter if you're tough or not. But it's just he's tough. He's a tough one to put out. And if anyone could do it, I'm not trying to count out Jared. But if I have to pick one or the other, I'm more confident. If I had to take $100, if I had to take this $5, $6, $7 and put it on something, I'm putting it on RoboCop, dude. I would not want to put my last $7 on Jared Cannonier at 40 years old in a 5-round fight.
It's just interesting to me, man, because Jared's had the more 5-round experience. He's fought for the belt. He's had nothing but main events. He's had the last 2 fights. I'm pretty sure have been main events. So it's just like
it's a young man's sport, though. That's the thing. Fighting is not for the older fighter. The younger fighter almost always benefits, unless it's an inexperienced thing. But neither of these guys are inexperienced. What's good, Pick'em? How you doing?
What's up, Pick'em? Hope you're doing good, brother. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Y'all go subscribe to the boy Pick'em MMA. He's a great dude, great friend of ours. I was in your stream last night, man. That was pretty late, but it was pretty cool that you went live that late. I was needing something to watch before I went to bed. I was eating dinner and stuff, so that came in pretty clutch, most definitely. Yeah, man, it's pretty funny. You're here for the last fight. But of course, you catch us back next week when we do our post recap of this card and we break down our UFC Seattle. Gotta break down that. That's another arena card. Love doing those, of course. And yeah, this is a close one, man. Because I'm looking at who he fought, bro. Like, he fought Kyle Bahayo and he fought Nasruddin Imavov, bro. Nasruddin just knocked Israel Adesanya out. Now, of course, you could definitely make the case it was early. Unlike Mark Goddard did apologize to Israel, after Israel told him to his face like a man straight up that he thought it was indeed early. But so Nick himself is going with RoboCop, you feel me? And and he's picking him because of the reckless pressure. So either way, either guy can be knocked out. I mean, I get it. It's the truth. You feel me? So, it's again, like I was saying, when he fought Kyle Bahayo, when I was going into the 5th round, you could arguably make that 2-2. It was a pretty close fight, and that's the dude that's ranked number 5 right now. So I do think he's still really competitive with these dudes. He didn't get finished against Kyle after the somewhat early stoppage versus Nasruddin, and he came back super early after the Nasruddin fight. I thought that was really dumb. He even said he shouldn't have done that in an interview with Mike Bond. Shout out to Mike Bond. He does great work. And of course, I cannot say dumb because I cannot tell a grown man what to do with his career. He's the one that's a world class martial artist, not me. But I just think that like it really wasn't the best move after taking the damage that he did versus Nasser Dean. And like yeah, and even then and like yeah, and I could see how you would say that because obviously he was rocked and he was hurt and clipped. And I mean, yeah, you can definitely say that, man. I mean, everyone wants to shit on Cannonier, man. I just think, not saying you're shitting on him, Nick. I'm joking. I just think that, like, yeah, it's really the people that he's fought, in his last few fights that really like been the reason, why he may have taken the losses. And yeah, I get it. Like, it's a close fight for sure. It's just like that was my thought process when I was looking into the fight. Of course, with Gregory Rodriguez, it's just this make or break fight. Honestly, it's like how good is he really? We're gonna find out in this fight. They want to see if they can really get him up to the upper echelon of the division. Of course, it's interesting, man. Like, it's fucking interesting, man. Like, cause I thought Cannonier never really got the credit he deserved, man. Unfortunately, it was really hard for him to fight for the belt. Of course, he doesn't market himself that well and stuff, but of course, he put on fun fights and stuff. And I thought, so especially when he went from heavyweight to light heavyweight to middleweight, that was crazy to see. This dude used to be a heavyweight at one point. Now he's 185 pounds.
That's discipline right there.
Like ridiculous amounts, like world class amounts of discipline, 100% to fight. Like doing that to go in there and fight, like for real. But of course, can't keep y'all here too much longer. I gotta do something else tonight as well.
I gotta eat my first meal since like 9 o'clock this morning. So yeah, I'm hungry.
Damn, man.
Say it. You want Cannonier? Say it.
No, I'm really thinking, man, because like it's a hard fight, man. It's not that cut and dry to me. You feel me? I really think that Cannonier can really come out here, like just like really learn from his last 2 losses, and like he's fought the way better dudes 1,000%, and he has the better. Like, I mean, people can say like he has the lesser gas tank because he's old, but man, I get it. He's 40, but like he trains every day. And he didn't just look 40 in his last fight. He didn't just look old and decrepit. He just lost, right? He just lost, man. So it's just like, I mean, see what you boys are saying. Can only blame himself. I get it for the Israel performance. Because in my opinion, I haven't made no bold picks all night. You feel me? I'm pretty sure Gregory is the betting favorite going into this fight.
Slight favorite, 190 to 155.
So there are some dudes picking Cannonier. If you check Typology, of course, it is 72% to Rodriguez, 28% to Cannonier.
This fight's gonna be a knockout. I think that's, if you're gonna bet something, the safest play is this fight doesn't go to a decision.
Fuck, man. Cause like, man, it's like wins over like Dennis Tillulin and like Brad Tavares and shit. Like I'm excuse me.
I mean, what's Jared fighting for? I mean, you win this fight, you still need another fight, maybe 2 fights for a title shot. You're gonna be 42 by then.
I mean,
but there's a life after MMA, and like when your path to a championship is that far away, I mean, what are you fighting for? It's not saying that he's gonna go into this one and throw the fight, but I mean, it's the wants it versus the been there mentality, just like in chat. So yeah, that's it. Like, who wants it more? What are you fighting for? Like, I know RoboCop feels like he could get a title shot at some point in his career. He's only 32 years old. His best, maybe in his mind, his best days are ahead of him.
Right? I mean,
but Jared knows. Like, Jared's not a fool. I mean, he wants this win. Don't get me wrong, but like, there's not a title shot with it, and there's probably not a title shot in his career at this point. 40, like I said, he's gonna be 41 in 2 months. He still needs 2 fights for a belt. That might be 43 years old at that point.
I'm looking at like the last time he fought. Obviously, I said I didn't like when he fought Nasser Dean, like when he came back. It was
That's
like a
tough
5.
2 opponents though. I mean, his last 5 is all really good dudes besides Vittori.
Like, cause for me, and that too, that win over Sean Strickland was a great win. Even though that's 2 years ago, I get it. 38 and 40. I mean, like, come on. If there's like a 42-year-old listening to this, he's gonna be like, yo, that's not old. Of course, it's not old by any means. Of course not. But yeah, the last time he fought, it was against Kyle Bahai. That was 5 months ago. Obviously, he took a lot of damage in that fight. Even though it ended up in a unanimous decision, it was a lot of damage. And how you saw in the 5th round, kind of like what Pick'em said here. He did almost get finished inside of the 5th round, so he did take a fair amount of damage in the fight, most definitely. Yeah, man. My bad, y'all. I just really wanted to think about the fight. Like I said, this is Gregory Rodriguez's make or break fight. We're gonna find out how good he really is in this fight. You feel me? I'm gonna go with momentum, man. I'm gonna go with the momentum. Again, like it's a hard 2 guys that Cannonier fought the last time. I just think that the 5-month difference for me is kind of scary when you think about it, especially like with the damage that he took against Kyle Bahio. Like, you know, not all these fighters have sponsors and stuff like that. So for some people, like their main source of income is MMA, like is when they compete, you know, for like the 2-3 times they do fight a year, you know. So I'm gonna go with Gregory Rodriguez. We'll see. We're gonna find out how good he really is in this fight, but either way, it can be a knockout on both sides. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. Jared has the reach advantage, but Gregory is taller. We have seen him KO'd before. It was flush on the chin. You feel me? So I'm gonna try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But we'll see how it goes. Like obviously, he has the momentum. He still will be the younger fighter, the faster fighter. And we're gonna see how it goes. Either way. But that was it for me. On this card. I really appreciate y'all. We really appreciate y'all for joining us tonight. For episode 39 of the MMAHOLICS. Want to thank Nick again for joining us. Want to thank Douglas again for joining us as well. Want to thank the boy Ty again for joining us for the Ty bets. You know we love you, boy, most definitely. And Gonzalo Toro as well. Like I told you, would never forget you. Absolutely, of course. Always a frequent watcher when we do go live. And please catch us again for our next episode, y'all. When we do go live for the UFC Seattle, we will be breaking down that card. I'm making the commitment now 100%. You will see us break that down. Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. Unfortunately, Dominic Cruz is off that card. So we were going to break
Curtis
down.
Blades got moved to a week later too, so he's off that card.
Unfortunately, but of course, still a great card. It has fans. They might add another fight or two in this last week, like they like to do sometimes. So, we'll see how it goes. But that was really it for me on this breakdown. And unless you had anything else, that's it for me, Nikki.
That's it, y'all. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday, same time, same place. Appreciate you guys coming out.
God bless you all, and God, y'all have a great night. Please stay safe. Wherever y'all are, just make sure y'all drive home safe, walk home safe. Thank you again for joining us on MMAHOLICS. And we wish y'all a blessed evening and have a great day. If you're just not watching this in the morning, y'all stay safe. God bless you.